am at the Buddh International Circuit right now, and I am here for the Indian Car of the Year jury round. I have been a 5-time jury member of the ICOTY jury. It is the award that every car maker really wants. And you can see everything from the Thar Rocks over there to the BYD E-Max, the Maruti Suzuki Swift, the Tata Curve, and behind us is also the Punch EV, the Swift, the MG Windsor, and the Citroën Basalt. It's a really competitive award. But as cars get more defined by their software, as cars now have differing drivetrains, in fact, this year we have 3 electric cars competing for the ICOTY. It's a really difficult thing for us jurors to decide who will win. So in this video, I will explain how we evaluate cars today and speak with some of my fellow jury members and tell you why ICOTY is the award everybody wants and how we are, as jurors, changing the way we evaluate cars.
So I'm taking the BYD seal down the back straight of the Buddh International Circuit. I am currently doing over 160 kilometers per hour, but it's not about the speed. Okay, I should slow down, shouldn't use up all the battery on the car right now. But this is one of the contenders of Green Car of the Year. But what is interesting is for the Indian Car of the Year, we have this car, the car sibling, the BYD E-Max, as well as the MG Windsor and the Tata Punch, which are 3 EVs contending for the top car award in India. And that's signifying the sea change in the drivetrain technology that is driving cars today. And we also have the concept of a software-defined vehicle that you hear car makers talking about, SDV, where a software update could change the entire dynamics of a vehicle. So I talked with some of the other jury members, starting with Dhruv, Behl, chairman of the ICOTY jury, about the challenges in evaluating cars in the modern era. Now, let's take the seal across the parabolic turn. Let's see how it handles. So I'm talking to Dhruv Behl, chairman of the ICOTY jury and editor of Automotive magazine, and he's standing in front of the MG Windsor EV, one of the contenders for the Indian Car of the Year. In fact, Dhruv, this year we have 3 pure electric cars for ICOTY, and when you consider the Curve also has the EV version, maybe 3.5. This is the largest number of electric cars. Now, not just as a chairman, but as a jury member, is the award becoming drivetrain agnostic, and what are the challenges in evaluating these electric cars for the big award?
So, we originally always had just ICOTY, which was one award. And then a few years ago, we introduced the Premium Car Award because the premium car segment was becoming more and more popular. So to recognize something that was becoming an important part of the Indian car market. And also the Green Car Award, which was essentially for EVs because EVs were becoming popular and we wanted to sort of add to that and sort of help them assimilate into the wider market. But as you pointed out, we've got a number of cars now that are EVs which are contenders for the Indian Car of the Year category. So for the overall market, just because of what they're bringing to the table. So yes, in that sense, we are becoming drivetrain agnostic. The Indian Car of the Year award is more for what a particular vehicle brings to the Indian consumer, relevance to the Indian consumer, and what it brings that is essentially new to the table in the mass market segment. And what these EVs are doing at this point in terms of the value that they provide, in terms of the features that they provide, it really doesn't matter what powers them. It's the style, the design, the value proposition, and everything else that it brings to the table.
So, as you're saying, we do not just evaluate
if it's a battery electric car or if it's a diesel car, CNG, the drivetrain does not matter. It's the value that it brings to the Indian consumer. It's also not necessarily the best car we drove in the year, but best package we drove in the year, right?
Yeah, the best package that sort of brings all of these things to the table, to the mass market segment of the Indian automotive industry.
And one more thing, Dhruv, just to let our viewers know, we also have a price cap for the ICOTY, right?
Yeah, there's a price cap of 40 lakhs for ICOTY, and above 40 lakhs goes into the premium car category. And as the Indian car market is changing and it's evolving so quickly, all of these categories also need to evolve to respond to the reality of the car market. So as the years progress, we'll see how we need to evolve these categories as well to better serve the sort of mass portion of the Indian car.
So we may not have a green car award in the future because every car will be green, I guess.
We may not need it. At this point, I think just by virtue of the fact that the charging infrastructure does make EVs a little bit niche, and maybe they do need a little bit more of a push. But the fact that, as you pointed out, we've got 3 cars out of 8 in the final list of contenders for ICOTY, which are EVs, it means that for very many years in the future, we may not need a green car category.
Thanks, Dhruv. We talked to Bob Rupani, an automotive journalist with over 40 years of experience evaluating cars and a founder member of the Indian Car of the Year jury. Bob, how has evaluating cars changed in the 40 years since you started, now that you have electric cars contending for the top award?
It's like we've moved to another planet. All right. Maybe another galaxy, actually, because back when, I remember starting out in the 80s and testing cars, you had maybe 1 or 2 or 3 cars maximum launched a year, and that too was because Maruti had come in. And I remember I started doing something called a real life road test, which meant you drove a car for at least 5,000 kilometers in all kinds of terrains, conditions in the city. Because, if you had a magazine, you put in the 40 pages of a test drive of one car, and you spend so much time, getting to know every door handle and every screw and nut and bolt in the car. The big change today is that there are so many new cars being launched. As we've seen here, I think this is one of the highest lists of contenders we've had. Every category has so many cars. And there are back-to-back drives, back-to-back launches. So people, from what I see, are spending a lot less time on looking at cars like how we used to in the old days. That's not a criticism. It's just about the changing times. One other thing that's changed is that, the connectivity, features, and things that didn't exist. These things were not even defined in a road tester's book, is what we're all looking at now. EVs, range, and, the regeneration and the whole vocabulary of testing cars has changed in the last 40 years. And that's why I say it's gone not from one planet to another, but maybe to another galaxy.
Thank you.
Before I carry on, a quick reminder to subscribe to the Print's YouTube channel to keep getting such awesome automotive content. The Auto Expo, as well as the winner of the Indian Car of the Year 2025, are coming up in January 2025. Now, as Dhruv and Bob both mentioned, the way we evaluate cars and the types of cars we are evaluating and the conditions we have to factor in while evaluating cars has changed dramatically. That is what made voting and scoring this year's Indian Car of the Year such a huge challenge, not just for me, but for the other 20 jury members as well. I genuinely don't know who has won the award, and I can't wait for the award to be announced on the 10th of January. Keep watching this space to find out who won.